We were very clear that we wanted to create truth sensitivity, and today Jhanjanar is equal to Sensodyne and Sensodyne is equal to Jhanjanar.
What's the landscape looking like in terms of how consumer demand will evolve in the next few years?
For the consumer to develop a loyalty, either you need to drive penetration or you need to drive consumption. If neither is happening, because by the way, there are others also who are doing the same. The consumer is experimentative, so
Correct.
she will flirt. That's where the challenge is. It takes clarity and investment behind building your brand. So keep building your brand. There is no shortcut to that.
Hey there, welcome to Marketing Mavericks with Indiefolio. Today we have Anurita Chopra with us, who's the Chief Marketing Officer India at Haleon. Anurita's career spans several years where she's worked with some of the biggest consumer brands and personal care brands. We unpack this journey, extract a lot of advice for marketers and get many opinions on advertising, AI and some guidance for agency founders as well. Thanks a lot for your time and welcome to the podcast, Anurita.
Hi, Kavan. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me over.
The first question I usually ask is about understanding why did you pick marketing as a career choice? If you could kind of take us back.
Yeah, at that time there were largely just two streams. Yeah, the doctor ban jao, ya engineer ban jao. This is broadly how it went. And I was pursuing the life sciences path. I, at one point in time, wanted to be a doctor. So I'm a botanist. I majored in botany.
Wow.
I didn't make it to a good medical college, let me be upfront. Yeah. So I was like, okay, let's figure this out. And then I thought, okay, let me just do masters in life sciences, maybe biogenetics or other such. But as a kid, I still remember that I was always hooked onto advertising. By second year of college, I picked up a magazine. In our times, there used to be a magazine called A&M, yeah, which used to capture the best piece of brand work at that point in time. And I just happened to literally just pick it up one fine day. I was somewhere and it just pulled me in, and one thing led to another. I was already part of Cultcom. I started talking to a few people that, okay, what is this world of MBA and what is this world of business? And before I knew, I had started preparing for MBA. Before I had finished my third year, I was already in SPGen. In fact, I started my MBA and then my third year results came. It just pulled me in. I think, Kavan, the whole thing is that something pulled me, it tugged at my heart. I didn't really entirely know what the world of business, what the world of marketing meant, but I just followed my heart. And yeah, one thing's led to another.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I often hear this from young folks that they got attracted to advertising, being creative, working with celebrities. And then when they dig a little bit deeper also into marketing, they're like, okay, that's like 10% of my job.
Yeah.
And it's actually more strategic and increasingly more technology and data driven today. So they're confused, like, who is marketing for? Is it for the creative brain or is it for the strategic brain?
I think it's a problem of plenty at one level. But having said that, well, one should expose oneself to as many domains because you will then know only by doing that. Look, my heart is not here. Yeah, sure, this is fine, but maybe not for a lifetime, or maybe a combination of this, because I want to keep my options open, etc. I want to underline this statement, yeah, because back in our times, we would talk to our peers, seniors,
Right.
and there was a very golden piece of advice that I got back then. I still remember it. It changed the course of my life. So I asked somebody, they explained it to me very, very simply that, look, if your passion is to build the whole business and own the consumer holistically, and very simply put, everything to do with portfolio design, starting with the consumer, insighting, pricing, managing the whole, at that time I didn't get it, but I can say it now, managing the whole P&L profitably, understanding how do you want to drive your business, and of which one variable is advertising, but it's a very, very I can't say a small variable, it's a significant variable, but it is one variable of the many. Whereas if you go into advertising, then it's one dimension. And of course, you can be significantly passionate about it. It can change, planning and advertising, creative and advertising can actually change the fate of many, many brands if you get your thinking right. So then you got to choose that, are you wanting to be a generalist, or are you wanting to be a specialist? And both are right, whatever gets your goat. But that piece of advice made me choose marketing as a domain, and I could have gone to my company, but I chose not to, because I was very clear back then that it is the entire gamut that appeals to me, and that is what is marketing. It is actually owning and driving the whole business, because you're at the epicenter. You get it wrong, there's nobody else who can get it right. So that excited that I want to do the whole thing. That's the difference, actually.
Awesome. No, I love this perspective. I often hear folks say it's a little bit of both, but I think you said it's a choice. I love that it's both, so you can choose what you want it to be. Next thing I want to talk about, first jobs in marketing. And people say do sales, sweat in the sun and sell something. Some people say, today you can just get into brand management from day zero. A lot of people also suggest go to the agency route, the service side, and get more exposures. I wanted to ask you about your first opportunity. What did you choose and why did you choose that?
I do believe, that no experience goes waste. So, haath gande karna is very important. Yeah.
Right.
And at that time, there's so many people who've told me that एक साल तो मैंने सिर्फ print out लिए हैं, But it's okay. You know what? It possibly also, let me put it even this way, that it's showing you, it's making you interact with so many people dynamics. And trust me, that is the single biggest variable in being a successful leader.
Right.
Irrespective of whoever you are. And now, you could choose to start with sales. That is awesome, because it just shows you every little aspect of one, the hard work, people leadership at a very early stage, managing distributors, managing commercials in your particular geography, leading a team of two to three to four people at a very young age, literally going shop to shop in an FMCG domain and understanding that, dude, what you write in is not going to translate, because that guy is not, unless it makes financial sense to the retailer, to the distributor. How does the wholesale channel work? Similarly, agency side. Now, again, if that be your passion, yeah, sure. See how things happen on the other side. I started things a little lopsided, where I wanted to actually work with a person called Shunu Sen, who used to own Quadra Consulting, and he was iconic, hailed from Unilever, and he was the person behind brands like Liril and Surf back then. So all the iconic work on Lalita ji and the famous work had been led and designed along with Alik Padamsi by him. So I took that choice because I was like, listen, I'm not going to get this ever again. To see how from a distance you're able to frame a brand strategy. Yeah. So, and I already said that I was passionate about brands. It just pulled me in. So I started there, then switched to Unilever, where I was working on brew. And the rest, of course, then my journey was continued with the rest of FMCG stroke telecom. So it's a combination of these two or three, which is what's the evidence on the table that you're rock solid and therefore academically you're strong. Second is what stands out in terms of what are you passionate about? How do you translate that passion into what you feel about, these organizations? How do you stand out? Your confidence levels, and your clarity of thought.
A dilemma, again, I often hear people go through is industry focus, industry category specialization. I see many people spending, let's say, 30 years in insurance, and there are a few folks who are all over the place, right? They've done 3-4 years in all kinds of, areas.
Yeah.
So I know there is no right or wrong answer here, but could you give your perspective here on, if I was confused about this, how do I navigate my career?
You have to have some sort of navigation. Diversity of experience and diversity of thought is amazing. Yeah, because you're able to pull all kinds of experiences from different sectors, different domains, and cross-pollinate. You're able to apply one to the other, saying, what, in the tech industry, this was happening, or in the mobile industry, this is what happened back then. If you want to drive price-led growth, Or if you want to drive volume led growth and you want to drive penetration and high adoption, but your consumer acquisition cost needs to be a certain level. It is about offering holistic, diagnostics and solutions for that matter. Or you could just have at this point in time an FMCG play, but you need to operate in DCOM. So tech needs to come very, very naturally to you. And you said that earlier that today's marketing is no longer what it used to be 20 years ago. Data analytics is core to marketing now as a discipline, will only grow further. So why would you want to, operate in only one sector? You should definitely have cross exposure, but a little bit of method to the madness should be there. A little bit of navigation as to why you did what you did. You didn't just job hop because it gave you that jump at that point in time, and hop skip jump. As long as there is a little bit of a steering towards it, then at the end of the entire piece, definitely that's solid exposure that you've had. So a lot of, if you're passionate about your consumer, you will build your systems accordingly. So whole organization has to own the consumer. But if you own the consumer and that understanding is there in your mind, then you should be sector agnostic. Sectors, you can take a grip on it in 5-6 months. You understand the sector.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I want to now jump into asking you about your thoughts on consumer consumption and where you think it's going. Two highlights in my mind is one's Q-commerce. I kind of was like 10-minute delivery, why is it that's so important? And today I genuinely see everything first on Q-commerce because I don't want to wait more than even 10-15 minutes. And I've changed as a person. The second thing, more and more want to try new brands now. A product which is from a 100-year-old legacy, gigantic brand versus a new product which, it's come out by smart founders, young founders with a good insight. Like, oh, let me try something new because, always trying new things is more fun. Could you tell me, in your opinion, what's the landscape looking like in terms of how consumer demand will evolve in the next few years?
Let me put it this way. Yeah. It's a fun time for everybody, for the consumer, for players, for innovators, for large-scale established organizations. There's never a dull moment. Because at the core of everything, I think Gen Z onwards, the need to experiment, the appetite to experiment is at an all-time high. Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you look at overall the degree of affluence in this country, it's only going up. The average income is only shooting up, especially middle class and upwards. Yeah. And we know that significant population would be above 50,000 rupees a month. And that's significant. It goes right up. And I'm talking of, literally the middle class. Yeah. And that's a significant base. It could be 40 to 50% of urban India. Second is the youth dividend of India. Yeah, we are a young country. Availability through quick commerce and other such is even better. You don't have to take the trouble to go even 15 steps. Therefore, this entire piece is aiding the piece that you just spoke about. That if you're a small entrepreneur, you now don't need to build a whole wave of brick and mortar distribution and then go into market and then make yourself available and advertise on TV, which by the way is expensive. You can do performance marketing. You can be on quick com. You can be on DCOM. And you could start small. You could even go city, even pin code specific and experiment and see what's working. So your cost of entry is really now marginalized. And if your cost of entry is no longer an entry barrier, then dar kam lagta hai. And your appetite increases. So both ways. Suppose I'm a SME, a startup, my cost of entry is really thin. So I will experiment and I have dreams and ambitions of being the next unicorn. And I feel there is a big opportunity in XYZ space. It could be beauty wellness, it could be foods, it could be tech, it could be wearables, whatever it is, apparel, you name it. So I will enter that space. You as a consumer, as I said, from an affluence perspective, youth perspective, and therefore the need for experimentation and the appetite to experiment, all of it exists. And here you come together with it being available so easily that you're like, okay, cool, let me just try this out. Now, this is where the fun begins. That you've tried it out. You've done the trial. Will you come back for more? Yeah. And that's why a lot of these small organizations will reach a size of maybe about 100 crores, 150 crores. And that is when they need to expand even further. Now, either they will need the brick and mortar to drive scale, or their portfolio needs to really stand out from the clutter for the consumer to develop a loyalty, a certain level of loyalty, which is when you will start growing as a business. So either you need to drive penetration or you need to drive consumption with the same cohort that you've penetrated. And if neither is happening, because by the way, there are others also who are doing the same. As we said, the consumer is experimentative. So
Correct.
she will flirt. Yeah. And that's where the challenge is, that you can take it to a certain scale, which is great, but then you need to have then a bigger scale plan, for which you need different capabilities. Not that it can't be done, but then you need to have your entire business strategy and your entire piece as to, well, why are you there in the first place, and how does the consumer see you in the first place. If you've got that strong, then you've got a long term business plan in hand.
It's definitely like such an exciting time for entrepreneurs, right? Who can just start off, because
Yeah.
firstly, it was only the internet businesses which could do
Yeah.
this, but today, so many things are coming together for
Correct.
us to build more consumer brands. But as somebody, who's competing with all of them, right? You're a giant in this space. Doesn't this scare you? And how do you kind of
Yeah.
make sure that, a few founders together one day just build something which,
Yeah.
scales into hundreds and thousands of crores in revenue and
Yeah.
needs your market share? Like, how do you compete with these?
Yeah, again, it goes back to actually basics. And large organizations like ours, we understand actually two or three principles. The first one is that the core principle is that, do you have your business model absolutely right? Yeah. So, for example, in the case of Sensodyne, toothpaste was a highly penetrated category. Everybody brushes in India. 99% people brush at least once a day. Yeah, do baar nahi karte, but once they do. Yeah, and therefore the only place to go was drive conversion from XYZ toothpaste to yours. For that matter, you spoke of quick commerce, where they found that there was a certain appetite for a 10-minute delivery, 8-minute delivery, and people were willing to pay for it.
Hmm.
So they drove unit economics in that manner. Everybody thought, ye thodi chalega, kaun paise dega? And today people, they don't mind paying 15, 20 bucks for delivery, but they want that pack of chips abhi.
Correct.
Yeah. So they're willing to pay for it. Similarly, for our case, we were very clear that we wanted to create truth sensitivity and own it. And so we started with education. Now we've gone completely behind it. And today, Jhanjanar is equal to Sensodyne, and Sensodyne is equal to Jhanjanar. So people didn't know that they had this condition. Ye to hai nahi that in the last 10, 12 years, suddenly this condition has taken birth in India. It always existed. They just didn't know what it was. So we started there. So therefore, how do we do this? One, we know that 1 in 2 people suffer from this condition, and that's the size of opportunity. Second, it takes clarity and investment behind building your brand. So keep building your brand, keep building resonance, keep driving relevance with your consumer base. There is no shortcut to that. You have to build your brand, whichever space that you are in, your raison d'etre and your investment behind telling the consumer who you are and why they should buy you in as simple and engaging a manner, as
Correct.
relevant a manner. It's just that actually. And the more you keep doing that, the more the consumer will look nowhere else saying, okay, for XYZ, I will experiment, but I know for this, there is no other. And you keep obviously driving innovation in your portfolio so that you continue to be your best. Again, whichever space that you operate in, you could be biscuits, you could be noodles, whatever, but you keep driving innovation. You keep understanding where the consumer's mind space is. You keep connecting with that. You keep expanding your footprint. All of this takes money, and therefore you keep driving your P&L, that it needs to keep working at a gross margin so that you keep investing, so that you keep growing. Yeah.
Fantastic. Everybody has a temptation to do something new this year. And as somebody who runs a creative network,
Yeah.
that's usually, why I'm hired, saying kuch naya karke do humko, I have my agency, but get your network to think for me. I feel like sometimes product virality, shareability does come with new ideas, but brand building doesn't happen. Could you kind of share your perspective as to, from a brand building and a communication focused lens, when should you stick to what works and when should you try new things and innovate?
The question also should be, what should you stick to?
Fair.
And where should you innovate? Because if you keep doing the same old thing, well, the consumer's definitely going to get bored of it and move on. But consistency is not boring. You have to be very, very clear about your framework, your brand's framework, and say, look, this is the holy grail. This will not change. This we will continue to do over years, because you know what? Right now, we're still a nascent brand for that matter. We've been in India, for example, for just about 12, 13 years. Yeah, but others have been here for more than 100 years. So the journey is just begun, which means that the consumer still hasn't fully understood what it means, why she should do anything about it. And so we've gone stepwise in this particular case. First, by the way, we've changed advertising over the years.
Okay.
Yeah, you've just not felt it. But our messaging has evolved over the years. We started with saying this is called Jhanjhanat. Yeah, because India didn't know. So the core has stayed the same. The look and feel has stayed the same. We've moved from the dentist clinic to the living room. We've moved from the dentist to actual consumers. But you've not felt a thing. You felt that, it's the same messaging, because that's our job, to make sure that you feel that, yeah, this is my brand. Your resonance with the brand continues. But what we've done on top of it is various other, to your point. Of course, perf marketing continues. Influencer comes and goes. A lot of content which we are hosting digitally, where we'll drive even higher resonance. All of this is on top. So there is hero and halo, and then there is, on top, where you're building content to go back to your hub. But if you're very clear about your hub, then the rest you're building on top. But it's never the other way around. Otherwise, you've got a schizophrenic brand, because you're running after tactical stuff, you're running after, occasional stuff. All that is important, but your core needs to be in place. And both have a role. Both hero and halo have a role, but your hero content has to be your chest, on which you're continuing to build a certain platform, and then you build on top.
Got it. This is like really insightful. I have a question on behalf of IndieFolio's network. So we are a network of content creators, creative professionals, and we are kind of trying to tackle this market fragmentation which has happened in content. I think a lot of folks who are tuning into this maybe would want to work with a large brand like you one day, right? And this is a common feedback from large brands that, young teams, they don't really partner with you. So could you kind of tell me, what according to you separates a good agency from a great agency?
Great question, Kavan. It goes back to, and I think the responsibility lies with the client out here. Yes, it's got way more complicated, way. Well, when you were writing, when you were talking of the brief, AI to the rescue. Yeah, you can generate concepts very quickly, etc. So I think everybody, especially in the FMCG space, needs to now change a lot, and that's what I'm driving with the team. That it's okay. You can't check everything. So first and foremost, we have to, drive that change internally out here, that you can't be obsessed with that last full stop and the last comma, etc., because it's not possible. Therefore, again, where does the responsibility come? It comes from the client on first induction. You bring everybody, your agency partners, your co-creators, your tech partners. It has to be done, and that's what I keep encouraging within the team, that you can't short circuit that. And it takes those 2-3 days of intense work, but everybody needs to be on the same page that, look, these are the guardrails. And now this is therefore the territory in which I will work. Is this now translating into comprehension on the other side? And that's the difference between a good agency and a great agency, where a great agency will not wait for the brief. Will be excited about, oh, this is what's happening. We get your brand, and guys, this is what's, whatever, IPL is coming or something else coming. IPL anyway will be a brief. But a great agency partner is when that agency partner understands what your business ask is, what your business, not pressure, but ambition is. What is the JTBT, the job to be done? And therefore, how does that translate into my key deliverables for you? And then let me own it. A good agency will come for a brief, deliver to the brief, then it will be, the up and down, etc., etc. But no one has time, because to your point, everything needs to happen day before yesterday.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's how it'll work.
Fantastic. Would you say then like insights, ideas which drive business is, I think, the core differentiator as such for you to win business from any large brand?
Yes. Whether large brand or you're creating a category, we are category creators. We go where no one else does. So, vitamins and minerals doesn't exist as a category in India. Tooth sensitivity didn't exist as a category in India. That's where the moot point is, that you need to understand the task, and therefore you need to own that strategy yourself as an agency partner.
One last question, right, is on AI. What's going to happen, especially from an outsourcing standpoint, is the pricing will drop, right? Because you have network agencies and consulting companies charging a bomb even for the smallest things, and a lot of production houses and boutique studios, while their ideas are great, they're often also hired because of cost efficiency. So in such a world, what do you think will happen? Do you feel because price of creative production is driving down, you would in-house this and make a marketer only become a creative person? Or do you feel that there will be still a opportunity for new, companies and agencies we would continue working with, but they'll just need to be AI led? Will have to change their cost structures and their delivery structures.
Bit of both will happen. Let me put it this way, that for digitally centric organizations whose DNA is digital from the beginning, for example, the Zomatos of the world, the Blinkits of the world, etc., everything is efficiency led, right? So they would anyway have developed this entire competency in-house, because they definitely don't have the time and the wherewithal, and this is their core. Then come the more traditional large-scale organizations, people like ourselves and in all kinds of sectors. It's going to be a bit of both, because both have cost structures associated. In the long term, you're setting it up in-house will definitely bring efficiencies, in which case from an operator in employment perspective, that's where they'll hub. This is not marketeers. They cannot carry this load. A marketer's responsibility is to nurture and grow the brand and be answerable for the numbers that the brand delivers. And this is a fulfillment of that brand's ambitions. And to your earlier point, that yes, we are here to build a business. It's like, how will you ensure that there is a certain value for human intelligence over artificial intelligence? So for this, we have the machine learning. Whether it is data analytics, whether it is creative generation, whether it is content generation and replication, these are our tools. And by the way, we've embedded data analytics into it because we'll be able to offer it to you at a far more optimized turnaround. And I get it better than any other because I'm able to stream it together. And I'm taking the trouble to embed myself in your brand. That's when you stand out from the clutter. So it's going to be a bit of both, whether organizations are wanting to embed the entire thing in-house, which also means a lot of implications, including headcount, including space in offices, which is also on an all-time high.
Right.
So people are wanting to reduce office space as well. So it's not as linear. Everything comes at a cost, and they will look at it from a cost structure perspective.
Thanks a lot for that. As a parting thought, I would love to ask you, a lot of young marketers are listening to this. If they want to be in your shoes one day, be a CM or be a head of marketing, what's an advice, they should follow to have a successful career?
Follow your heart. You be you. You do exactly what you feel the strongest about and where your superpower lies. Each of us has a certain wiring out here. And the sooner we come to know that what is that unique thing that we are bringing to the table, which nobody else is bringing as good. I think there's no shortcut to hard work. Put your nose on the job. Be passionate about what you're doing. Please be ambitious and spread your wings and network, talk to people, learn more, experiment, but deliver what you're here for. So business is a hard world. So focus on the big picture. Keep learning, keep driving.
Awesome. That's a great note to end the podcast on. Thank you so much. I hope you had fun.
I had fun, Kavan, and I hope that your series continues and you keep helping millions of people, because everybody is hungry for knowledge and experience, and it's a great format.
Thank you so much. And for everybody who stuck along, thank you so much to you as well. If you'd like to hear another marketing leader soon, please like, share, and subscribe. Bye-bye.